Welcome back. It's day 4 of our van build and we are so excited because today we are going to be starting the floors. So the first thing to do when it comes to building your floor is to insulate it.
So we went ahead and got 1/2-inch polyiso board. Because I'm so tall, we're kind of limited with space. For the ceiling and the floor we have 2 inches, so we went with 1/2-inch polyiso. I went ahead and cut it with a table saw, and we're gonna go ahead and lay it down and get the subfloor installed.
I have never seen this creature in the wild before. What shall we call it? After you cut up your insulation on the table saw, you're gonna wanna take a very lightly damp rag and wipe off all the leftover particles so that it's easier to glue.
So we went ahead and cut the width of the channel that runs between the ribs. And so as you can see, it's about 2 inches for most of the ribs, 3 3/4 in some of the places, but pretty standard 2 across pretty much the entire car. So we went ahead and cut the board with the table saw. So this is the polyiso board, and we have some Loctite foam board adhesive. So all we're gonna do is apply the adhesive kind of in a zigzag to make sure we get all the different sides. And then once we're done with that, you're gonna go ahead, flip it over, and make sure it fits. And then press down, just make sure that you get a good bond going, and it should set in about 15 minutes.
Pro tip, buy way more of this stuff than you think. Otherwise, you will be going to Home Depot at night before they close and in the morning the second they open, like we do. It's wonderful. So it took us 4 of these to do the whole floor.
Here is the next step for the floor. When we laid down all of the polysi board, you can see we filled in the cracks with this foam. So it just helps with the insulation. Once it dries, we'll basically cut it off. And so it's called Great Stuff Gaps and Cracks. We used about 7 or 8 bottles, so I would say at least get 8 bottles. We made 3 trips to Home Depot because we made that mistake. So we actually let this dry for a couple of hours. It says it takes 60 minutes, but we checked after 60, it was still a little bit damp, so about 2 hours. And then we're gonna take this saw, which doesn't actually rotate, it just kind of swivels a little bit, and it makes it super easy for us to cut along the foam instead of doing it manually with a saw. So I'll basically take it, run it along, smooth it out, and then we'll be done. Up. There we go.
So we have finished for the day. I'll show you what we did.
Labor of love.
We have finished cutting off the tops of all the foam, and so it's nice and flat. And so all we're gonna do now is just get a vacuum, clean up the mess, and then
Tomorrow we put ply on and the floor begins. And then everything else.
yay! And then the rest of our life
Yeah.
together
Yeah.
forever.
And living in a van.
Living in a van.